All right. Happy Monday evening, everybody. Welcome to the third ever AFR live Monday night double play. Thanks for joining us live. If you guys have any questions, be sure to put them in the chat window and I'll get to them during the show.
Of course.
And my phone just went off. All right. Live streaming, gotta love it. All right, guys. So anybody that's been following the channel, you know that I'm running through my latest project, and it's the 2015 SCRAM season for Red, White, and Blue Racing from Play.com. That's their fictional set, and I'm a year behind on that. The 2016 season actually came out earlier this year, but fell behind on my projects a little bit, so getting to the 2015 season. And I am into the final 8 races of the season. In NASCAR, that's known as the Chase. In my fictional universe, I call it the 8 for the Gate. In my universe, there's a legend named Richard Gate who is no longer with us, and so they named the Cup after him. And the last 8 races are the 8 for the Gate Cup. And so tonight, I just wanted to show you guys how I keep the points and my race and the spreadsheet that I use to keep everything. It works pretty well. I'm sort of an Excel nerd. I've seemed to have used Excel in every job that I've had, so I've had a lot of time to play around with it, and so I have a pretty good system going. So I just finished the latest race. It was the which race was it? The Good Snips 500, and so I'll just show you real quick here what I do on my spreadsheet. Okay, so first thing I do is I have this worksheet. Oh, and let me make sure my audio is still running. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And so what I do is I type in all the drivers in the order that they finished, and then I have the last spots here for the did not qualify drivers. And then all I do is I go up here and then sort the drivers by their number, and then you'll see that last column over there, all those errors disappeared. So that just lets me know that I actually did use every driver for the race. If there was an error there, that meant that I typed something in wrong. And then all we're going to do is copy the place for each of the drivers. Then we'll go to the sheet here, and this is where I have all the races. And then we'll just paste these in, and then that's automatically going to populate their points. And so I have my point system. The driver in first place gets 43, driver in second place gets 42, all the way down to the last place driver who gets 1 point. And then I just put a Y in here for if they led a lap, that gives them a bonus point. The driver who led the most laps gets another bonus point. And then in the last column, if they took the pole position, I put a Y in there. No bonus points, but I just keep track of that. It's kind of interesting at the end of the season to see who won the most points. And then my last tab here, this is where all the points are tallied up, and as well as their wins and then their pole positions. And I also keep track of their top 5s and their top 10s. So I just got the latest race put in, so we're going to go here, we're going to sort the points, and we'll see that we have a brand new leader. Number 39, Pete McAtee, is now in front, but just by 1 point over Ray Bob Walker behind him. So pretty interesting season here. Actually, we got, looks like 5 drivers that are within the lead under 10 points, and then a couple just a few points off of that. So I'm into my final, my 8 here, and so you'll see I have this column over here that has the Chase ratings. So how I worked it up to the first 24 races, the drivers who were in the top 10 in points, they automatically make the Chase, and so I put a Y there. And then there are 2 wild card drivers, and they get a W in that column. And these are the drivers that either had the most races won outside of the top 10, and if there's any ties, then it's the highest point value. The drivers that were in the top 10, They start out at 1,500 points, and then they get 3 bonus points for every win that they had. And the 2 wildcard drivers just start out at 1,500 points and no bonus points for their wins, but they do get the chance to win the championship. So as you can see, the 2 wildcard drivers are currently in 8th and 9th place. Kurt Bryson and Mark 4th. So they're not doing too bad. They're just 18 and 24 points off the lead. But the 2 drivers with the most wins, Pete McAtee and Tom Rossi, are in 1st and 3rd. And then the driver who had the 2nd most wins in the season, Ray Bob Walker, is in 2nd place. And so that's how I keep track of my points throughout the season. Let's see here, we've just got 6 races left until we get to the final race and crown the 2015 champion. Oh, all right, so let's see here. We've got some comments here. Welcome everybody. If you're just joining in, looks like a couple people are playing out some different games here. John McGinnis is playing with Soccer Blast. He's got a tournament going on, and he's doing a solo playthrough in bottom of the 9th. All right. Hey, and speaking of bottom of the 9th, their latest Kickstarter for the Clubhouse expansion is in its final days. Here, let's see. I'll go. So they just have 3 days left. They just put up their latest update and announced the second to last stretch goal that's going to go on. This looks pretty neat. So they're going to have some advanced play cards that are going to come with it, and some base tokens, which they haven't exactly said what they're going to do, but they've hinted at that they're going to be basically things that you put on your players to remind you if they're getting a bonus. So you can see here a couple of these options: playing the infield in to stop a bunt, but then you might give up a single more easily. So it looks pretty neat. Definitely looking forward to seeing more of that. It's a game that I really love, and I was excited to see them come out with an expansion for that. So can't wait for that to get to us next year. I'm glad to see that it's funded and that they're almost at all of their stretch goals. So if you haven't had a chance, head over to Kickstarter and look for bottom of the 9th, the Clubhouse expansion. All right, let's check out some more comments here. First, we got, let's see, Kevin Kilpatrick's is a new Hockey Blast player. Well, Patrick, welcome, and Hockey Blast, definitely a very fun game. One of my first season projects that I ever did on the tabletop was playing through a fictional season with Hockey Blast. I just did a 10-game season, went by pretty quick, but it was a lot of fun. Definitely enjoy Hockey Blast a lot. Let's see. Mark Russell said that Ken Phelps hit a pinch hit walk-off grand slam in a recent game of replayed baseball. Always like to see walk-off home runs, although I was a pitcher in high school, so I like to see the walk-off strikeout, have the closer come in and shut down the game, or see a nice tight 2-1 or 1-0 game. But walk-off home runs are definitely exciting, especially a walk-off grand slam. Kevin has a quick question for Hockey Blast. How do you get penalties on a roll of 7 when checking penalties? So without the book right in front of me, a roll of 7 is when it's multiple penalties. So what I do is just, you roll again, you get the first player who's going to be getting the penalty, and then I roll again to see who the second player is, and then would roll again to see what their penalty is for the first player you rolled, and then the penalty for the second player. I believe that's how it works. I'll have to dig out my Hockey Blast rule book. I haven't played that in a couple of months since I did that playthrough for the Under the Hood video. Alright, so looks like no more questions right now, so if you guys have any more, be sure to put them in the chat window, and I'll get to them here during the show. The question that I wanted to ask this week is your favorite rule or event that happens in a game It doesn't happen that often, but when it does, it really adds a lot of excitement to your game. And the reason I ask this is the last race before the playoffs started, it was a 28 turn race. And so what happens is the last pit stop was within 2 turns of the last turn. And so one of the advanced rules is you can do a pit skip. And so what that means is everybody that's in the top group, the top 8 drivers, they have the option to skip going into the pit row to either take the lead or maintain the lead, as was the case in my race. But if they do that, you have to put this low fuel card underneath the driver. And so what happens when they get to that final turn, you roll a d6, and there's a chance that they're going to run out of gas and they'll fall behind. I think it's 2d6. Yeah, so if you roll a 5 or a 6, then you roll 2 dice, add them together, and that's how many places the driver drops off. But if you roll 1 through 4, then they manage to cross over the finish line on fumes and maintain their position. And so what happened, Stu Urich in the number 9 car, he was in the lead, and he decided to do a pit skip, and he maintained the lead, and that was actually his first win of the season, and it catapulted him into the top 10 of the standings. So it helped him get into the playoffs, and just made for a really exciting time at the end of the race. And I was happy to put that, because actually I don't think I did that in my last season. I don't think I ever had an opportunity to do a pit skip for whatever reason. So really excited to see that come up. And always like these little things that you don't want to have them every race, because then they would lose I guess their panache, or the excitement that it would bring. And it does add some more fiddliness to the race and to the drivers. But when it comes up just once in a while, it's definitely an exciting thing to see come up. So if you guys have anything like that in your games, it's something that you only use once in a while, or a special rule that will come up occasionally but adds an interesting twist to it, go ahead and post it in the comments, and I'll share it with the viewers. Alright, so nothing right now. So I guess I'll ask another question after I finish this 2015 season. I'm kind of tempted to jump right into the 2016 SCRAM season, just because I think I mentioned on the show before, one of my favorite drivers who's been in every set since 2012 when the game was first released. He's actually not in the 2015 set, and the logic being that he was an older driver and he wasn't able to find funding or a sponsor for the 2015 season. But in the 2016 set, he actually is going to come back as an owner-operator, and that's Dick Exam is the guy's name. He was driving the number 13 car, but he'll be back in the 2016 season in the number 3 car. So I'm looking forward to that. So I might jump right in, but I was curious, what are you guys' thoughts when you do season playthroughs or season projects? Do you like to jump right in to the next season right away, or do you go into something completely different, a different sport, before you get back into that? Let's see. Got a couple of so Mark Russell said he likes the Z chart results on Status Pro Baseball, where you get rain and ejections and injuries. Definitely a fun twist to the game. So Status Pro is a game, I've only seen video playthroughs of it on YouTube, but definitely looks like an interesting game, and something that was the forebear, I guess, to a lot of current popular games. Kevin Kilpatrick asking if I have any inside information about History Maker Golf, when it will be released. So the latest information is that it might be released. I think the issue that Keith Avalone is facing over at Play.com, for you guys that don't know, his next new game is going to be History Maker Golf, and it uses the History Maker engine that he popularized with History Maker Baseball. And the issue, he wants to make sure that he has enough courses released and enough sets released for it, and I think he's run into some issues just with getting enough of those sets completed and then also getting enough play testing done. So the latest word that I've got is that he is still on track to have it released this October. He has an event going on November. He has an event going on in Vegas. I think like the 12th and the 13th, and he's still planning on having it released then. But right now it's still a little too early to have a set date. But he's hoping to have that on track, and I know I'm really excited to get that game on my table. Everything that I've seen looks really great. He shared a sneak peek of it at his last live event that took place in Phoenix, and the feedback that I got from players that went there said that the game looks really, really good, and it's going to be another great addition to the Play.com lineup. Let's see, Jim Superint. Welcome, Jim. I guess you got your kids to bed. Let's see, on steal attempts for strat, I like to test the fielder's tag and make him roll a 20 on close plays. Oh, okay, to see if he lands a tag and also to see if the catcher throws the ball into the outfield. That's an interesting twist. All right, I like that. So Strat is another game that I actually haven't played. I did play it once a long time ago, sometime back in like the mid 90s. At a gaming club I was at, and I just played one game, and at the time, for whatever reason, it didn't click with me, and I haven't gone back to it. I discovered Replay Baseball quite a few years later, and that was the game that really got me hooked. So, but that sounds like an interesting twist on the steal results. Definitely something. It's always fun to see a catcher toss a ball into the outfield when he's trying to throw somebody out. Let's see, another comment from John McGinnis says, when I finish a season playthrough, I usually play a bunch of one-off games. Yeah, that's actually kind of what I'm thinking of doing too. Is cause actually I haven't gotten into the latest History Maker Baseball season sets that have been released. So instead of doing a full season, I might just do like a tournament or something, maybe a double elimination tournament, something to sort of cleanse my palate from the stock car racing game before I get into the next season. And then before we know it, the next season sets are going to be out for second season football. And so I'm definitely looking forward to taking my fictional Boston Minutemen through a season. Again, so that was a fictional set that I just got hooked on this past season. I usually like playing the real teams, and this year I finally decided to give the fictional sets a try, and I moved the Philadelphia team to Boston, and took them all the way to the championship game, but then lost in the championship game. So I'm looking for a little redemption, and so that's supposed to be coming out in a couple of months. I think July is the release date for those. So looking forward to those. Let's see. It looks like we got a new comment from Mike Grummert. Thanks for all you're doing. You're very welcome, Mark. Thanks for watching. It's a long wait from Tuesday to the following Monday. Any content on tap for later in the week? So earlier this year, I tried doing the question of the week on Thursdays, and then the game of the week on Monday, just to add some extra content. And what ended up happening is it seemed like nobody was really tuning into those. I was barely getting 100 views on those, and so I decided to combine them together into one night. And that seems to be working out a little bit better, and then that was starting to lag, so that's why I tried doing this live event, just to try to do something else to engage the viewers, get people excited talking about the channel, just kind of play around with it, see what happens. It's possible at some point I might do like a weekend update if there was any like big breaking news that would come out. I would do a weekend update show maybe on Friday or Saturday night. But actually, right now, just over the past like month or so, it's been sort of quiet on the news front. I don't think I've had a news show go over 10 minutes for quite a while now, so I'm not sure what I could do for an end of the week. Maybe at some point I might do a live playthrough of just a random game of the week of what I'm doing to put out. Actually, I'll give you guys a little spoiler, a little sneak peek. I'm going to try to do a live event on Facebook sometime over the next month. Facebook now has a thing, if you're using your smartphone or your iPad, you can do a live broadcast right from there. And so I thought that might be a good feed to broadcast a live game. So something I could just have my phone in my hand. I have a little stand that I can put it on. Do something really quick like that, and maybe get a few more viewers over to the Facebook page. And that actually is a page where I do post breaking news throughout the week. Something comes up, I'll put a link up there, for people to see, especially if it's something that comes out before, if it's like Thursday or Friday. And I want the news to get out there before the next Tuesday. So if you're looking for news between Tuesday and Tuesday, definitely check out my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/AFR Steve. And so I post links to all my videos there, and then also just breaking news throughout the week or any interesting links that I might come across there. All right, let's see. Any more comments? Oh, yes. So Baseball Demos is in the chat, and that's another YouTube channel. And he does different various playthroughs with baseball games, as you can imagine, and does a lot of great work on there. The video that I really enjoyed the most was he did a playthrough of a single game, but used I think four different games during the. So he played like 2 innings with Stratomatic, a couple innings with Replay Baseball, a couple innings with History Maker Baseball, and it was a really interesting way to showcase the different baseball games that are out there, and I was actually kind of jealous that I didn't think of doing something like that myself. Here, let me switch to my desktop here. I'll show you guys. So here's the Baseball Demos YouTube channel. So you just go to YouTube and search for Baseball Demos, and this is the page here. And so right now he's doing a Stratomatic May Madness tournament. The latest video was just posted, and it's the 2015 Kansas City Royals taking on the 1990 Cincinnati Reds, one of my favorite teams from my childhood. That was an interesting game to watch. So if you guys are looking for any other baseball game content, be sure to check out the Baseball Demos channel. All right, let's see. Did I miss any comments over here? Yeah. So people are saying about skipping around in projects. Okay. Yeah. So definitely, there has been a couple times where I'm playing these races, because actually I think I've played, I want to say 23 or 24 races just in the last 2 weeks. And that's kind of what happens with that red, white, and blue racing game, is once I sort of get into a rhythm of playing out those races, I'll just leave it set up here on my table. It's the latest race, and and then I'll as soon as I get done one and I finish up my spreadsheet and see somebody just took the lead, it definitely lends itself to that. Oh, now I want to see what happens next, or especially if a feud happened, and I want to see what happens in the feud. I'll jump right into the next race, and actually the races that are 40 or 30 turns I can generally get done now in about 30 minutes, 35 minutes, especially if there's a couple crashes that happen, so you get a couple yellow flag turns, the races will go by pretty quickly. So let's see, question from Mike Grommert is asking, what non-sports games do you remember fondly from my youth? Let's see, so as far as board games, the one that definitely always comes to mind is Balderdash. If you guys have never played Balderdash, it's a I don't even know what the best way to describe it is, but basically everybody takes turns. You draw a card from a deck, and it has like 4 or 5 different words. You choose a word, and then all the other players write down what they think is the definition of it, and then the person whose turn it is gathers them all up, reads off everybody's definitions, and everybody votes on what they think is the actual real definition of it, and the player that got the most people to vote for them wins a certain amount of points, and then play continues until, I think you had actually to get your pawn around a board or something, but definitely had a lot of fun with that game, and it was kind of interesting. Everybody sort of started to get their own writing styles in it, and just a fun game. Good bluffing game, because actually if you were able to write a definition that sounded right, even if it was completely off, just as long as you got people to vote for it. And then the other game from my youth was Canasta, and this is a card game. You just use a regular deck of cards. I think you would shuffle 2 regular decks of cards together, and it was a game you played with partners, and you were trying to make, what were you trying to do? I think you were trying to make pairs of things or groups of cards, and it was another fun game with, with the family, and you get to kind of know other people's tells, and just a really fun game. And one of my fondest memories of a kid, I grew up in upstate New York in the middle of the country, and we used to lose the power a lot, and we would just get a lantern and put it on the table on the deck, and we'd play Canasta all through the night, and it didn't matter that the power was off. So definitely a lot of fun. If I had to pick one game from my youth, I think Canasta would be the one that I remember the most. Let's see. Yeah, so there's a comment that Balderdash sounds like a forerunner to Apples to Apples. Yeah, it's definitely in the same vein, I guess you could say. Just a really fun game to try out if you ever get a chance to pick it up. I think actually there's even a Balderdash Junior game for younger kids, but I feel like a lot of my vocabulary came from playing Balderdash. I learned a lot of new words in that game, and was able to work on my writing, and make things sound a little more believable in your BS definition. So, all right, let's see. Mike Cravens asked, "Did you ever play Cataco All-Star Baseball in your youth?" No, I haven't, and actually that's the first I've heard of it. Let's see, it's led to APA and Strat and many others for me. No, Mike, I haven't played that. I didn't play that, and that's the first I'm hearing about it. I'll make a note to look that up. Is that a game that's still available? Or is that something that's not published anymore? But no, I'm trying to think of any sports games that I played, or sports themed games. The only things I can think of are games that I played on video game systems, like Mike Tyson's Punch Out. on the Nintendo, and then going all the way back to the Intellivision. There was a football game on there that was pretty terrible looking back on it, but that was a lot of fun to play. Um, yeah, I don't think I had any baseball or any sports themed games at all when I was a kid. It was all Monopolies and Balderdash. Oh, all right, guys. So it's just about 9 o'clock here. If there's any last minute comments, I'll get to them or questions. All right, guys. This has been really fun. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Um, oh, let's see. We got one last question here. Ever play photo electric football? I haven't. No. Let's see. Photo electric football. I wonder, is that was that like an old VHS game where you had to put a VCR tape in and it told you to go to a certain minute mark? No, I haven't. That's another game I'll have to look up after the video. So, all right, guys. So thank you for tuning in. Be sure tomorrow night to tune in to the news. That'll be going up probably about this time tomorrow night. And then I'll be back here Monday evening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the next AFR Monday Night Double Play Live. All right, guys. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, my name's Steve. Get out there, have fun, play games, and I'll see you after further review.